Well, to jab or not to jab has long been a controversial issue for families. Recently, the anti-vaccination cause has begun to gain momentum. Growing numbers of parents are saying no to immunisation, especially in wealthier suburbs. Medical evidence suggests this has the potential to put other children at risk. The Australian Medical Association believes tougher measures, including childcare bans for non-immunised children, should be introduced. And there are also calls to close a federal government loophole preventing parents who don't immunise from receiving the child care rebate. To look at these issues, I'm joined on the panel by Sunday Telegraph reporter Jane Hanson and our guests, Professor Peter McIntyre from the National Centre for Immunisation Research and Chris Kokagai, who lost his son Michael to chickenpox, a vaccine-preventable disease. Good morning to you all and thank you for your time. Chris, I'll begin with you. If I can start by saying I'm terribly sorry for your loss. And if you can tell me how quickly chickenpox made your son Michael ill. Okay, well, on the Friday, we'd spent a day at the beach with his brother and his two sisters. We've come home from the beach, Michael was fine. We went for a walk up to Blockbuster, our local video shop, and pick out a movie. It was a walk of about 4 k's up and back, and then the boys went upstairs to have a bath. I went up while Wendy was getting dinner to check on the boys, and Matthew pointed out that Michael had a couple of spots on his stomach. So I said, Mike, stand up please, hold your arms up in the air, and I got him to turn around, and he had 5 spots on his tummy, which looked just like a hive or a mosquito bite. Now, I said, how you feeling, mate? And he said, I'm fine, Dad. He leaned over, gave me a hug and a kiss with a cheeky grin. And I said, what's that for? And he said, because I love you. And I went downstairs. Within a few minutes, Matthew came down and Wendy was just serving dinner. We were just putting it on the table. And I said, yell out to Michael. And Mike didn't answer. I said, Matt, look, go upstairs. He's probably playing with his dinosaurs. Tell him that dinner's on the table. Matt went up and then he started screaming hysterically. Wendy and I sprinted upstairs. We found Michael slumped over and there was no pulse. He wasn't breathing. We put him on the floor and started to work on him. We spent 20 minutes until paramedics arrived, and I got nothing but respect for them and the police, and he was airlifted to Westmead. But the thing, even today, like Mike went in a coma, he never spoke again, and 3 days later we lost him. But even today, I still, with all the research and everything I've done on it since, I can't get my head around how 1 minute he was laughing and joking and giving me a hug, and 5 minutes later he's on the floor and we're doing CPR.
And you had no idea that chickenpox could kill. I mean, I thought it was just a benign childhood disease, a rite of passage almost, but it kills 3 to 4 children a year. That's correct. We had no idea, and Michael's brother and 2 sisters all had chickenpox before he was born. And you didn't know there was a vaccine available since 2005? No. Nobody had told you, nobody had alerted? That's correct. Because Michael was born in 2002? That is correct, and my children had all their compulsory vaccinations. They'd had their triple antigen. On top of that, my eldest daughter Ashley at 13 got in meningococcal vaccination because there was a nationwide campaign through the health department and the media, and so Wendy and I marched our other kids in and got them immunised. Sorry to interrupt, we might bring the professor in here to speak about the immunisation process and what the stats that we're seeing. How alarming is it in your medical and professional opinion?
Well, it's an incredibly compelling story that Chris tells, and, you know, I was tearing up a little bit when he was talking to me about it before we came on, because it's just, you know, it's every parent's nightmare, isn't it? And I think it really enforces the point that it's not about, you know, being a good parent who really takes care of your kids' nutrition and looks after their health. You can be a kid who's 110% fit, just like Michael was, and yet you can be one of the unlucky ones that dies from a preventable disease. So it's really important to reinforce the fact, because everyone sees chickenpox and everyone knows that, you know, almost every kid gets it by the time they're, you know, in high school, and the great majority of kids, they do get over it, but you don't know if your child is going to be one of the ones that's unlucky and gets severely ill, or, in the worst possible case, as happened to Chris, dies. And we know now that some 77,000 children are not vaccinated, whether that's by choice or just some parents are lax. Perhaps at childcare centres, that's another point where if they were turned away, then their parents would be forced to look at the schedule, see if they've had all their vaccinations, and that might be another point. Because only 1.5% are
conscientious objectors or vaccine refusers, aren't they? So this is another point where we can tell people about the science. The science is in, isn't it?
Yeah, I think the science is very clear, and I suppose there's a couple of groups of people who don't get their kids immunised, and there is that small group that no matter what you say, no matter what you do, they won't be convinced. But there's that larger group, which is the group we really want to speak to and get stories like Chris's story about Michael across to that really it is terribly important, and the science is in that the benefits of vaccination are just so much greater than the risks, and it's just a no-brainer as a parent. And in fact, if you don't do it, you're playing Russian roulette with your kid.
Okay, thank you very much. We need to leave it there. Peter, Chris and Jane, thank you very much. Thank you for joining us for this edition on Meet the Press. Goodbye.